This is an iHeart podcast.
This Labor Day, say goodbye to spills, stains, and overpriced furniture with WashableSofas.com. Featuring Anabay, the only machine washable sofa inside and out, where designer quality meets budget-friendly pricing. Sofas start at just $6.99, making it the perfect time to upgrade your space. Anabay's pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and interchangeable slipcovers are made with high-performance fabric built for real life. You'll love the cloud-like comfort of hypoallergenic, high-resilience foam that never needs fluffing, and a durable steel frame that stands the test of time. With modular pieces, you can rearrange anytime. It's a sofa that adapts to your life. Now through Labor Day, get up to 60% off site-wide at WashableSofas.com. Every order comes with a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. If you're not in love, send it back for a full refund. No return shipping, no restocking fees, every penny back. Shop now at WashableSofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Welcome in. We are rolling with the Tuesday edition of the program. We hope all of you had fantastic Labor Day weekends. I did. I think Buck did as well. I met a lot of you at the Alabama-Florida State game. Man, we've been doing this show for so long, Buck. I remember when Alabama was actually good at football.
I actually do too, which tells you something.
Florida State Seminoles get the big win there. It was a lot of fun meeting many of you. So I'm back on the road for college football season a lot again. But we begin, now that we are officially into fall, even though it doesn't feel like fall in most of the country. Kids officially back in schools, most places, everywhere. And the question becomes, what will the first fall of Trump 2.0 look like? And, well, the answer is the resistance is going to be the same as it was in the spring, in the summer, in the winter of Trump 2.0, and that is federal district court judges are going to wrongly decide the law and just try to throw up roadblocks. And we'll get into this a little bit, but it kind of surprises me how seriously the media still treats all of these federal court decisions. They come out and they say, oh my goodness, Trump doesn't have the authority to insert whatever issue is currently being litigated. And then it goes to the circuit court, and the circuit court generally says, yes, he does. And so far, the Supreme Court always says he does. So you have a lot of left-wing politicians that are wearing judicial robes, and they have decided that they're going to do everything they can to try to slow down the momentum of Trump 2.0. And I just don't really get that worked up about it at this point in time. We told you that this is what's going to occur. You should expect for the next 3+ years, this is primarily what they're going to do. And this is why, no matter how good of a term Trump has, the things that need to be fixed in this country are multi-term, multi-president in nature, no matter how good Trump 2.0 is. But I do think we should address it as we usually do.
Some important notes here. One is the judge who came forward and found that Trump, it was unlawful for the president to deploy the National Guard in Los Angeles. Yeah, we'll see about that. It also has already happened, so there's really no sanctions or anything other than this is a slapdown or meant to be a slapdown of Trump. I think what got even more attention over the weekend, Clay, is, and this is from one of the administration spokespersons, Tricia McLaughlin, that there was an effort to take 76 unaccompanied Guatemalan children. Now, understand, these are kids who were brought into the country or in some cases found at the border of this country. And this was happening for a while. Part of the human trafficking that was going on here, where they were, the term they would use is recycling kids. And this is what they were saying at the Border Patrol, that kids were being used as pawns by people to get into the country, because if you had a child with you and claimed the child was a family member or a dependent, you could not be deported, Clay. So it was this end run onto U.S. soil, essentially. And so there were all these kids, and this was part of the scam, the illegal immigrant scam that's being run. It's not the kids' fault, obviously. These are children. 76 of them the administration was trying to reunite, and this is from Stephen Miller and other White House officials, with their parents in Guatemala. And a Judge Sparkle Suknanap, has blocked that flight from the reunification of Guatemalan children with their families in their actual country of nationality. Because, Clay, anything Trump does, Trump taking kids who don't have their parents and reuniting them with their parents is bad, because Democrats hate Trump. They don't ever go beyond the actual realities, or rather, they don't get into the actual realities of what he's done. So that's going on. And just one other thing I throw in the mix, because we're going to talk also about the law enforcement piece. I don't want to take away from the judge discussion, but 50 people shot over the weekend in Chicago.
Yeah.
50 people shot, 8 fatally. Maybe time to have that discussion too. But on the judges, Clay, this is just the only real resistance there is to Trump.
We said this, and we're being proven right about it more and more. It is a real question. Where was resistance going to come from? We saw the protest resistance at the inauguration, and we came on and we told you we just kind of felt sorry for them. There's just no energy there. There still is no energy there. They can't even pay people to show up and protest in big numbers. So the street protest as the resistance to Trump 2.0 is non-existent. Politically, I want to play this cut because Jasmine Crockett from, I believe, the Houston area of Texas, maybe the Dallas area of Texas, is supposed to be one of the top Trump critics. And I think you see in her, when I play this cut, there is no real resistance from the Democrat Party because they are so bereft of ideas, and the ideas they do have are just flat out wrong and rejected by huge majorities of the country. But I want you to listen to this. And before I play it, I want you to understand Jasmine Crockett's parents did everything they could to get her the best possible education, as well every parent should. They sent her to a private school in Missouri that cost over $30,000 a year. They sent her to Rhodes College in the Memphis area, which is a great liberal arts school. Team, look up what the cost of Rhodes College is now. I believe it costs over $60,000 a year, with room and board included there. So over $30,000 a year for her high school, over $60,000 a year for her college. Yet this is how she is well educated. She has gone to elite schools.
Well, she's expensively educated. There's a difference.
But she understands and knows basic grammar. And I want you to listen to this. And she is pretending to be dumb and sounding like she's never gone to any school of any measure because she thinks that's what she needs to do to connect with her constituents. It's an insult to her parents. It's also an insult to all those constituents who don't actually want to be talked to like this. Listen.
Well, they are crazy because they always talk about how Christian they is. Yeah, I don't know how many of them on that side are getting divorced because they getting caught up sleeping with their co-workers, staffers, interns, all the things. Yeah, you ain't got to believe me. Just go Google. You'll find some of it. I'm telling you. And the wives is being messy and petty. They putting it in the divorce. I'm like, ooh, that's got to be true because your lawyer would know that they going to lose it.
All right. I mean, this is embarrassing. There's no way to say, hey, this is someone who represents 700,000 people in the United States. This is one of 435 members of Congress to be talking like this in public, intentionally not able to speak basic grammar. It's embarrassing.
Does it work for her politically, though?
No.
You don't think so?
No, it doesn't, because I think she is, well, it depends on what her goal is. If she wants
that's what I'm getting at here, right? What is she trying to accomplish with this? How is she trying to position herself vis-a-vis her voters and her national profile?
Well, she can't ever do anything other than represent one congressional district like this. You can't get elected to statewide office in Texas talking like this. You can't get elected president of the United States talking like this. But
you can get the national media talking about you.
Well,
you can get a lot of attention. You can be, look at I think the AOC model, Clay, insofar as now politicians are, and particularly like the younger generation of left-wing politicians, view themselves as social media stars first and foremost, is something to keep in mind. See, you're thinking about this like as a statesman, shouldn't she, and with respect to her voters, I think she's playing to the internet constituency. She's playing
but even if she's playing to the internet constituency, Buck, I don't think there's a huge demand for dumb. I don't. I don't think that black, white, Asian, Hispanic, real large audiences are out there saying, I want someone who is pretending to be dumber than she is. Because I think a lot of people see through this. By the way, Rhodes College, over $70,000 a year in room and board. This is where she went. She knows how to use is and are correctly in sentences. Like, I'm not saying she's a Rhodes Scholar or the most brilliant person on the planet, but when you go to elite education institutions, they will beat grammar into your head. She knows how to speak.
I got a few things here. I think you're overestimating elite institutions and their ability to get anybody to speak properly or think properly or even do their own. These days, they can't even get the kids to write their own essays because of AIs. The whole thing is falling apart. But even going back decades, I'm not sure that proper grammar is necessarily, something that people would get even at elite. Again, I always put elite in quotes. And you and I both have gone to elite educational institutions, and there were dumbasses at my school. I don't know what to tell you. There are guys who could barely put two words together. So
no black person who goes to GW is able to, where I went, is able to go to the school and not be able to correctly use is or are in a sentence. Like, or Hispanic
I think You're saying that she's
this is in my opinion 100%.
I think she's trying to code switch and trying to appeal to different constituencies in different ways as part of her growing Clay. There is a massive vacuum on the Democrat side right now, so big that not even Pritzker can fill it. And there are people out there. There are people out there who recognize that now is a time. Clay, look at AOC. Look at you keep thinking that these Democrats have to be held to standards of authenticity or honesty or anything like that. AOC grew up in fancy Westchester, and yet she's presented herself as, Ocasio-Cortez from the Bronx, man. Like, I've been on these mean streets, and she even sometimes would speak in a more sort of urban dialect. AOC would. Went to BU, which I think was the most expensive school in the country, in Clay. They love her. So I'm, you're approaching this. I don't think you're seeing this like a leftist is what I'm trying to tell you. I think you got to look through the leftist lens. I think she's building her profile. You can say that, you think it's absurd, of course, and I get that. But I think that she views this as, code switching and profile building at a time when Democrats are in a vacuum for not just leadership, but for media attention.
I think this is, look, she may end up on The View. And there is an argument out here that I think, building on your social media influencer argument, I think that many people now who are in Congress are auditioning for podcast and media jobs because they make $170,000 a year. So she may have a future in media. But I think even
I'm going to put this out there. I think this is true. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, but Clay, there would have been a time when I think that radio was a stepping stone to elected office or podcasting, audio. And now I think that for a lot of people, elected office is a stepping stone into audio, social media profile, all that kind of stuff. I think it has changed dramatically over the last 20 years.
I think the challenge is basically when you're a politician, your only job is communication. And I don't buy that communicating as if you are dumber than you actually are. And here I'm giving credit to Jasmine Crockett. I think that clearly she is pretending that she is dumber than she is to try to speak to an audience.
I don't see this as being dumber, though. She's not. She's maybe switching into a different vernacular, a different dialect, but she's not pretending to be dumb. She's pretending that this is the way that she normally necessarily speaks and communicates, right? Like when Hillary Clinton, Clay, would go down and be like, "Oh, eyes so tired," walking. You remember when Hillary did her whole Southern thing? She's not pretending to be dumb. She's pretending to meet Southern. Now, all the Southerners listening, including you, I think, are like, "Fat chance, lady." But she's trying to ingratiate herself with that approach to them. And
See, I guess what I'm going to is I think ultimately what connects with people is authenticity. And I think most people, now there is a small segment, she could probably get elected a congresswoman from that district over and over again and not matter in the larger 435 person House. But I think in a social media sphere, the only thing that matters is authenticity. And authenticity requires that you be the person you are. And when she is code switching, that resonates. Like, we should play a cut of her talking in two different vernaculars. That doesn't work because you can put them side by side and it exposes that you are dishonest. I've said this for a long time. The conversations that I have in public and the conversations that I have in private, there's zero difference between them. And that is why I think that works in media. Authenticity is all that matters. I think she is basically not going to exist for much longer.
When a natural disaster strikes, do you have a plan to reach your loved ones? If power is out for several days and cell phone service becomes spotty, having a pair of rapid radios is a lifeline. These are modern-day walkie-talkies built to communicate on a nationwide LTE network, so distance is not a problem. I've shared my own story here about reaching my in-laws the day after the hurricane hit in North Carolina when communication was really tough. A lot of different communication networks were down, but rapid radios was working. Rapid radios can keep you connected when so much else goes dark. Trusted, tested, legit, should be part of your preparation plan. Go to rapidradios.com today. That's rapidradios.com. You'll save 60% when you visit that website. Use promo code radio and get an extra 5% off. So that's rapidradios.com, code radio. Rapid Radios deliver peace of mind when it matters most.
Saving America. One thought at a time. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Now you can stream Fox News live on the Fox One app. Stay on top of breaking news and the biggest stories live as they happen, all from the Fox voices you trust, bringing you the coverage you won't find anywhere else.
Start your 7-day free trial today. Offers are subject to change. Go to Fox One for complete terms and conditions. Fox One, we live for live, streaming now.
This Labor Day, say goodbye to spills, stains, and overpriced furniture with WashableSofas.com. Featuring Anabay, the only machine washable sofa inside and out, where designer quality meets budget-friendly pricing. Sofas start at just $6.99, making it the perfect time to upgrade your space. Anabay's pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and interchangeable slipcovers are made with high-performance fabric built for real life. You'll love the cloud-like comfort of hypoallergenic, high-resilience foam that never needs fluffing, and a durable steel frame that stands the test of time. With modular pieces, you can rearrange anytime. It's a sofa that adapts to your life. Now through Labor Day, get up to 60% off site-wide at WashableSofas.com. Every order comes with a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. If you're not in love, send it back for a full refund. No return shipping, no restocking fees, every penny back. Shop now at WashableSofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Welcome in, second hour of Clay and Buck. It kicks off right now. Thanks for being here with us. So as we know, a major push by this Trump White House, the president himself, has been on the issue of crime in D.C. We spent a lot of time on it, and I think so far it has been a big political winner for Donald Trump because he's doing two things simultaneously. It's a brilliant Trump move. Brilliant Trump move. He is putting wins up on the board while also encouraging, in essence, because he pushed for it, Democrats to defend the indefensible. So it's coming at this from two sides. One is it's just the right thing to do. It's a good thing to do. Make people safer. Bring down the murder rate. Bring down the carjacking rate. Yay. I think we'd all be on board for that, right? But two, Democrats go, hey, so there's a lot of murders in D.C. I mean, who doesn't have this problem? Well, a lot of places don't have the problem, but you know what I mean. They're trying to suggest no big deal. And in the process, everyone looks at them, including some Democrats look at them and say, what is your problem? We actually want fewer murders. We need to be a party. Some places it has to be which one of us is better at achieving the desired goal, and the murder rate should be one of them. Are Democrats or Republicans better at bringing this down? It shouldn't be Democrats are the this is pretty good. And Republicans are, no, it is not. Because it is clearly way too high in D.C., and it's clearly way too high in Chicago as well. Over the weekend, 50 people shot, 8 fatally over Labor Day weekend. 50 people were shot in the city of Chicago. Chicago is not that big. It is 2 million people, about 1.8 million, I think, Clay, is the number. New York is 8.5 million by comparison. So Chicago is it still larger than Houston? Houston is like its own, you can like drive for an hour and a half and still be in Houston, I think, technically. So it's a little tough to
metro areas. It's still New York, LA, Chicago, 1, 2, 3. I think Houston and Dallas are 4 and 5, if I'm not mistaken, again, on the metropolitan areas.
But again, Houston, it's like, what is Houston? Well, it's a very big place. So 50 people shot. That's too many people. I think we're all clear on that. It's not like this is aberrant numbers for Chicago either. This is some random. No, on Labor Day weekend, you go back, there are a lot of weekends where you have 30 shot, 40 shot. I mean, these numbers are out of control. And it was very interesting to me, Clay, this morning. Sure enough, on good old MSNBC, there was a conversation that was happening. And it was Joe Scarborough, who we'll get into this, reaching out, in essence, to the Democrat intelligentsia, including the governor of Illinois, who, of course, includes in its environs the city of Chicago, saying that it is time to partner up with Trump on the issue of crime. This is on MSNBC. Play 4.
I actually think that J.B. Pritzker should do something radical. I think he should pick up the phone, call the president, and say, you know and I know you don't have the constitutional authority to deploy the National Guard here and to police my you can do that in D.C., you can't do that in Chicago. But let's partner up. These are the most dangerous parts of my state. We would love to figure out how to have a partnership that's constitutional, that respects the sort of balance of federalism between the federal government and the state government. And let's work together to save lives.
That sounds entirely reasonable, doesn't it, Clay? It sounds like the kind of thing that somebody who might be trying to make a move to be a voice to bring the Democrats not toward the center but towards sanity would be making. Good old Morning Joe. I think he sees a lane, Clay.
He's wrong saying the president doesn't have the authority. He's 100% right with everything else he said. This is what should happen. This is to give her credit. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser seems to be doing, to the best of her ability, an attempt to work with Trump to make Washington, D.C. safer. And I don't understand why anyone out there would be trying to prevent the president from making his or her city or state safer than it otherwise would be. And we have here is Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, contrasting with the reasonable take that we just heard. That's what you would have heard on MSNBC. Worth noting that if you are losing Joe Scarborough on MSNBC, how many MSNBC viewers might be hearing somewhat same takes suddenly as part of Trump 2.0? That to me is a sign that the virulent Trump is Hitler agenda, leave aside the fact that we all know it's a lie, it doesn't rate anymore. It doesn't actually motivate the viewers even.
You have Morning Joe there, Joe Scarborough himself, who, remember, is a former Republican, so he can play. You want to talk about code switching? This guy he'll switch jerseys, he'll switch, whatever was going to.
He repped the Florida Gulf Coast, one of the most beautiful places in the country, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
So he would have been the 30A congressman, right? I mean, he went to that area at one point, right? I think so. As close as God's country on the Gulf of America, no less. On the Gulf of America, he would have been a congressman for it. But there's that position, and then you get the more hardcore left-wing Democrat position here from Chicago Mayor Johnson. This is cut 5. Here's the other approach to Chicago. Play it.
No federal troops in the city of Chicago. No militarized force in the city of Chicago. We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago. We're going to protect the humanity of every single person in the city of Chicago.
Just slogans, meaningless community organizer slogans that will do nothing to bring down the murder rate, nothing to address the crime rate. I mean, somebody should ask the mayor of Chicago, is 50 people over the weekend shot in your city too much? Do you view that as an urgent problem, sir? And try to pin him down on this, because he would just go back into the slogans, Clay.
I don't understand what the audience is for arguing we're going to stand up to the president trying to bring more law and order to cities that 81% of Americans believe have too much violence. 99% of Americans believe have some form of violence that's too much. I don't understand who is out there. Again, this ties in, Buck, with the argument we saw from Mayor Karen Bass, where she just said the quiet part out loud. She said, well, we can't have more police and more National Guard troops because then too many black and brown people are going to get arrested. So you really have the argument being made of, well, there's going to be too many black and brown people arrested, so that's why we don't want more law and order in the city. But what about all the black and brown people who are going to be victims if these people are not arrested? That is the immediate question that's begged. And I think the vast majority of people out there, regardless of your background, want your kids to be safe and want to be able to walk in the streets and not worry about it. I have said for a long time, to me, the test of whether a neighborhood is safe is, are you okay with your wife, your girlfriend, your daughter, your granddaughter going for a jog at dusk in a neighborhood? Like if you're a woman who is significant in your life, or a girl who's significant in your life goes outside and it's 6 p.m. and she's like, hey, I'm going to go for a jog for 30 minutes. Are you comfortable with her doing that? It should be the point. It should be the case that everywhere in America we are comfortable with that happening. But right now, tons of you listening, you'd say, yeah, my daughter, she can't go for a jog. My 16-year-old, she's training cross country, or she's a soccer player and she's trying to stay in shape. She can't go jogging if she might get out after dusk. So that is the ultimate test.
I lived this test, this reality in New York City in the 90s.
Yep.
Where it was, you can't go jogging at night. That's why the Central Park jogger case was, well, obviously it was horrific, but also it hit home for so many people. It's like, you can't even go jogging in Central Park in this city. That was without something horrific happening.
Yes.
And then you had the realities of you couldn't go to Central Park at night. But I would say, Clay, in these cases, we're talking about, would you be comfortable driving through these neighborhoods in a nice car in broad daylight? That's a different. The standard you're talking about is true safety. I think the standard you could apply to the south side of Chicago, or I guess it's the south and some of the western precincts of Chicago, or, you could apply to the more dangerous parts of Memphis, New Orleans. You go down the list of these cities is, would you be willing to drive, would you get in your friend's Mercedes or your friend's BMW or whatever and drive through these areas, spend an hour driving around and feel safe? And I think in some of these places you would say absolutely not.
Would you stop and get gas? When you talked about this in we're not, I think, the primary people who are going to be victims of crime. And by which I mean, we're grown men, not elderly. Like, we're not, in theory, easy marks.
You see all those push-ups that Clay did on that video? Yeah. No one's going to mess with Clay.
We're not easy marks. I mean, we're 6 foot, decent-sized guys, right?
Got some weight to throw around over here, maybe a little too much, but, I could box out if I need to.
But when you were in St. Louis and they told you, hey, you can't walk anywhere at this hotel, and when I was in Memphis...
They told me not to go stroll around at night by myself in the downtown. In the night, like the main part of downtown, the heart of the city. They straight up told me that.
I'm staying in one of the nicer areas of Memphis with my kid because he's got an event going on, and the lady working the front desk at the hotel at 8:30 p.m. was like, are you sure you want to go outside? And I was like, well, I forgot my charger. I'm just going to go fill up my gas tank and get a charger at the local gas station here. She's like, okay, be careful. At 8:30? I mean, this is where we are. To your point, St. Louis, I want the National Guard called in, the State Guard, but obviously in many different. I want to call it in everywhere. I live in Tennessee. I wish they would call the National Guard in and deploy it in Memphis. And your point on St. Louis, I think a lot of people out there who live in the St. Louis area are like, yeah, I'd like more security. Kansas City, New Orleans, Chicago, Baltimore. Why would we not? If I were the governor, and a lot of you out there are like, oh, I don't know about that, Clay. If I were the governor, I'd be considering calling in the National Guard to deploy in the State Guard, but National Guard to deploy in Memphis and say we're not going to allow Memphis to have a murder rate that is basically 20x what's happening in New York City. Not going to allow it. There's too many innocent people being killed. I think this is a great decision all over the place.
Well, I think that on crime and also on the border, for example, going forward, there's going to have to be some national level Democrat attempt to co-opt these issues for themselves a little bit, as in, they have to come up with, we're part of the solution, not continue to perpetuate the problem, because these have become huge political liabilities for them. I mean, the immigration thing, the illegals, the 10 million under Biden was clearly a major, might have been the deciding issue, quite honestly, in this last election. I think you could argue that it was, meaning the single most, intractable, pervasive, and Democrats getting hammered on an issue. And so I think on this issue also of making cities safer, it may not change the vote in Chicago, but it might change the vote in some places that are purple. It might make people think in the suburbs of some of these cities, you know what? I can't vote for some lunatic Democrat again. And that's where the political weakness lies.
I'll tell you what it does. I think a lot of black guys, again, over 20% of them voted Trump in 2024. I think a lot of them look around and say this is unacceptable, and they don't accept the Brandon Johnson argument of, hey, we got to stand up. Like, why should we not have more safety? Why? And look, black women too, but they have been more committed to the Democrat Party. When you get to the point where it's 1 in 5, 1 in 4 black men are voting for Trump, that's a real conversation that's taking place now in the black community. And I think when you look around in Chicago, you say this is unacceptable. By the way, I am fired up. The NFL is back this week. Buck, I don't even know that Buck knew, but there was an unbelievable college football game in his backyard, basically, in Miami, with the Miami Hurricanes hosting Notre Dame. Catholics versus convicts, old school matchup. You never hear that phrase?
Convicts, sir. Good heavens.
The Miami Hurricanes were the convicts, and obviously Notre Dame was the Catholics. And it's a little politically incorrect, maybe, but also a great nickname for a great game. Now we have got tons of games going on. Thursday night, Cowboys-Eagles. Friday night, Chiefs-Chargers. And then everybody plays by Sunday. You can get hooked up with Prize Picks right now. Get $50. We're going to give you a pick every Thursday or Friday on this show of an NFL game. Players, I'm going to give them. Buck's going to learn some of their names. We're going to be rolling. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com. Use code CLAY. Available in over 40 states right now. California, Texas, Florida, Georgia. You can play it. Easy to use. We'll give you the picks. You get $50 when you go sign up right now at prizepicks.com, code CLAY. That is prizepicks.com, code CLAY.
Want to be in the know when you're on the go? The Team 47 Podcast. Trump highlights from the week. Sundays at noon Eastern in the Clay and Buck podcast feed. Find it on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back in here to Clay and Buck. Appreciate you all being with us. And we're going to get to some talkbacks and calls. All of that good stuff. Remember, 800-282-2882 on those phone lines. The talkback is fabulous, to borrow a word. It's a fabulous talkback. What you do is you go to the iHeartRadio app, which is my favorite audio app, and you go to the Clay and Buck page. You should subscribe because we've got a great podcast network there. You can also listen streaming to this show. But you click the little microphone, and then you just send us voicemails. We get transcripts of all of them, by the way. We play as many as we have time for on the air, but obviously we get more than we get otherwise just do 3 hours of talkbacks. But we appreciate all of them, so please do send them in, and we'll try to get a bunch more on the air, and that will be a very good thing. With that in mind, Mr. Clay, I have to bring attention for a moment here to the New York Times and the way that they are trying to run interference or obfuscation, propaganda for Mamdani the commie, who is I believe, self-described as a democratic socialist. And so now we're going to get into this game where somebody to get support and to get the left behind them, they say, I'm a democratic socialist. I'm a democratic socialist. And we say, okay, so you're a socialist, right? And this should be pretty straightforward because it's in the name, but they play the games. This is from the New York Times over the weekend that, Mr. Cuomo used both of his appearances on Fox News last week, talking about the opponent for Mamdani in the New York race, Cuomo, to criticize Mamdani's left-leaning views, warning that they would be a death knell for New York City. New York City people are not socialists, Mr. Cuomo said. New York City people are not socialists. Neither actually is Mr. Mamdani, the New York Times rejoins. He is a democratic socialist, which means his beliefs are similar to those of socialists, but not exactly the same. He is a member of both the National Democratic Socialists of America and its New York City chapter. What does the New York Times think that it's doing here? It's funny because really more and more it's only read by left-wing people or people on the right who want to trash it. And they're trying to tell everybody, don't call him a socialist, even though he's a socialist.
What do you think his term in office would actually be like? Because the reason why I bring it up is, again, I'm frustrated that there hasn't been a coalition of somebody to sit down with Andrew Cuomo, with Curtis Sliwa, and with Eric Adams and really say, okay, get out of the race. One of you has to be the guy. And I think Eric Adams would win if everybody else got out. I'm not sure Cuomo would win.
I think you have it backwards on this one. I think Cuomo has a much better chance than Adams, Clay. Adams' numbers are absolutely, pitiful. He's in single-digit support.
I think he could win. I could be wrong. I think that Cuomo could win. I think that Sliwa has virtually no chance of winning. So I don't understand what he's doing. And I understand that a lot of you at WOR, he's a Republican. I'm not saying that I disagree with him on the policies. I'm saying that if you look at this situation, Mamdani is such a big threat that otherwise not political allies should come together from keep him from going to office. Having said that, it seems like he is saying that he would not change very much suddenly as he is now trying to run for office. For instance, Jessica Tisch, who has done a really good job, it appears, to be fair to her, running the NYPD, driving down crime, all these things. Buck, I looked it up. Through the end of August, and New York City team, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, I believe there were only 201 murders in New York City. 9 months, so that would put us on pace for 270, something like that-ish, because probably a little bit lower because summer tends to be higher rates of crime in general. That's really good. Right? I'm not saying that I wish there was no murders, all those things. I get that there's still crime.
Clay is decidedly, despite all the pushback, anti-murder, as we have discussed.
I'm gonna stick as hard on the anti-murder camp as I can. But he's now saying he would leave her in charge. I wonder how much of him is going to be, he says all these crazy things, and then when push comes to shove, when he actually gets into the office, whether he's not going to do very much to actually implement the agenda he claimed he would implement. Does that make sense?
This is
big risk.
This is quite a gamble, right? I mean, now you're talking about a situation. So I'm very clear, I think, on what happened through, because I was living in New York, right? So Giuliani comes in and he's Wyatt Earp. He cleans up the town, he fixes it, he gets it on the right course. NYPD. Compstat, it all comes together, and now you have this city that is incredibly on the rise and is a crime reduction story, not just for the country, by the way. It became a globe. New York City has connections to police departments all over the world. This has been long-standing practice, but they have very close relationships with and they do information sharing. I was a part of this in Intel Division. Now it's Intel Bureau. It's actually gotten bigger since I left. And Jesse Tisch, who's now the commissioner, was one of my peers. We didn't work in the same office, but on the same general issue at the time. And, cause she's only I think she's your age, Clay. She's only a couple of years older than me. And the NYPD story is that they managed to fix all this stuff. And then Bloomberg comes in and says, okay, look, I'm a Democrat, but I also like safety and investment and clean streets. And so I'm going to keep doing the smart things. Does Bloomberg say what you will? He's a smart guy. I disagree with him on sodas and gun control, but he's a smart guy. De Blasio comes in and he's like, we've had way too much prosperity, safety, and growth. It's time to start just turning the wheels of communism from inside the system. And if he inherited a great situation, so it took a while. It's like Gavin Newsom in California. It takes a while to ruin these places, right? The Bolshoi was still like the best ballet in the world in the 70s in the Soviet Union because they had, 150 years of or 100 years of, it takes a while to ruin some of these things. And I'm just, and some of the greatest writers of the 20th century were Soviet writers, not because of the Soviet Union as like a font of creative energy, but because Russia and its history. Okay. So he comes, and then you get to Mayor Eric Adams, Clay, and then the wheels of communism because of de Blasio are just chewing up the city and ruining everything. And Adams comes in and he's like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore, but he's not an adept enough leader and manager to stop it really. Maybe he has slowed the progression, but it's kind of kept going. Where would Mamdani be on this? That's really good. Bring us back to the question. Would he be a de Blasio or would he be something else? Because de Blasio, I truly believe, for ideological reasons, intentionally ruined the city of New York. As much as he could. He didn't ruin it totally, but he intentionally made every bad decision that could be made. Every stupid move that he could possibly have pulled off. If Mamdani were to speak left and govern right, first of all, I would give 1 to 10. I always get this wrong. Whatever the odds are, very long odds that he would do that.
10 to 1.
10 to 1. I'd give 10 to 1 odds that he would do that. And even if he did, I'm not sure that he has this is where I think it's an Eric Adams thing. I don't think he has the ability to figure it out, right? So maybe on the NYPD side, at least he knows to leave a good commissioner in place. But there's a lot of other stuff that the city needs help with.
I just don't know if he has the functional ability, because he's never really had a job like this, to actually implement a lot of the things that he's saying. And so, look, is it a big risk? Yes. Would I live in New York City? No. If I made a good living and my job were something where I could live other places, I would probably say I'm out. Now, I understand a lot of you have kids in school. It's hard to move. You've got jobs that are not portable in nature. You've got family that you are deeply connected to and neighborhoods and all those other things. But if he's actually going to implement the agenda that he is saying he's going to implement, then I think New York City is in severe trouble.
I know Florida realtors personally who
Yes.
are already running specific ads online to target, in a good way, but to target New Yorkers who they think are high income and will want to flee to Florida if Mamdani wins. Like that's already happening here. So if you're wondering if your Florida real estate prices are probably going to keep going up, I think they are.
I would be nervous if I'm a New York City guy and gal, and I look at it, and a part of me thinks, could this be a bait and switch where he says all these crazy left-wing things, and then when it comes to actually delivering on them, it's very difficult to deliver on them, and
you're talking about, sounds like you think that he's, even if he's like a Leninist, he's an incompetent Leninist, so maybe he can't get it done. That's a different thing than I actually repudiate Vladimir Lenin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's a different thing.
I think that there could be, I'm not sure how committed he actually is to it. I think this guy just wants to be elected mayor. And I think he may not be able to implement it, because what's he done to succeed? What management ability does he have where you look at it and you say, boy, this guy's been really, really good? To your point, Bloomberg is in a phenomenal business, right? Like he is, whatever you think about Mayor Bloomberg, he built one of the all-time great media and business.
I think he was the richest New Yorker. I think he was the richest New Yorker in New York State when he was mayor. I think that's true. He was worth like $60 billion or something like that.
I mean, the guy is an incredibly skilled business figure. De Blasio is a mess. Giuliani, I think, really got it with, what was it, Bratton, his initial commissioner that he worked with in the New York City PD. I think he knew, because he was a prosecutor, what do you have to do to move the levers of crime in New York City? I just don't know that Mamdani has the skill set, Buck, to actually implement anything that he's claiming he's going to do.
According to Grok, Bloomberg is still the richest guy in New York State, worth over $100 billion.
And unless I'm mistaken, Bloomberg made all of his money.
Yeah, no,
he did not inherit. Like he didn't
inherit $80 billion and wants to tell you about the 20. Let me tell you something. If you inherit $80 billion, the last 20 is not hard. But yes, that is the case. He completely built his own business. So he's clearly a very high IQ, very capable guy. And that showed in the city of New York. He was a fantastic mayor, and people can say what they want. I knew very conservative cops in the NYPD, and they would not say a bad word about Bloomberg, full stop. Even though they disagreed with him on some stuff, they were like, he's doing a great job. Mamdani, Clay, you could have a commie who's also incompetent. Now, this is what the question that I was asking you is, does the incompetence work in the favor of the city?
Yes.
Because,
yes,
you know,
sadly.
that may be the case. Like when he says things like having city-run grocery stores
is one of the craziest ideas on the planet. It's just bonkers.
It's also, you think about this, the fact that this is even
the grocery store is one of the hardest business. They have a 1 or 2% profit margin. The produce is constantly having to be replaced because obviously it has perishability issues. You know this better than anybody, all you guys. Getting things into New York City is incredibly expensive, difficult, shipping the idea that somehow the government is going to run a better grocery store and save people money is so crazy. By the way, 209 murders in New York City year to date through the end of August. That is a 20% decline from last year and would put them on pace for somewhere in the 200s, which is a very good number for a city the size of New York City when it comes to murder, getting it down as low as possible. I want to tell you about our friends at Tunnel to Towers who do phenomenal work to help make sure that so many of you out there are able to support so many people putting their lives on the line on a day-to-day basis. After joining the U.S. Army, Thomas Kennedy served 2 tours of duty in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan, earned dozens of awards, service medals throughout his honorable career. But while he was deployed in eastern Afghanistan, soldier's life tragically cut short because he was killed by a Taliban suicide bomber. He left behind his wife, Cammie, their beautiful twins, Maggie and Brody. They were just weeks shy of their 2nd birthday when they lost their dad. Because of friends like you, Cammie and her children didn't face the loss alone. Tunnel to Towers provided the family with a mortgage-free home. You and other caring friends out there help Tunnel to Towers step in, offer a ray of hope to Cammie, Maggie, and Brody. Families like the Kennedys who have sacrificed so much for us and our nation need your help now more than ever. Join both of us in donating $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
News you can count on. And some laughs, too. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Now you can stream Fox News live on the Fox One app. Stay on top of breaking news and the biggest stories live as they happen, all from the Fox voices you trust, bringing you the coverage you won't find anywhere else.
Start your 7-day free trial today. Offers are subject to change. Go to Fox One for complete terms and conditions. Fox One, we live for live, streaming now.
This Labor Day, say goodbye to spills, stains, and overpriced furniture with WashableSofas.com. Featuring Anabay, the only machine washable sofa inside and out, where designer quality meets budget-friendly pricing. Sofas start at just $6.99, making it the perfect time to upgrade your space. Anabay's pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and interchangeable slipcovers are made with high-performance fabric built for real life. You'll love the cloud-like comfort of hypoallergenic, high-resilience foam that never needs fluffing, and a durable steel frame that stands the test of time. With modular pieces, you can rearrange anytime. It's a sofa that adapts to your life. Now through Labor Day, get up to 60% off site-wide at washablesofas.com. Every order comes with a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. If you're not in love, send it back for a full refund. No return shipping, no restocking fees, every penny back. Shop now at washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Clay, have you heard of the Rio Reset?
Sounds like a trendy new workout, Buck.
It does, but it's actually a big summit going on in Brazil. The formal name is BRICS, which stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, but they've just added 5 new members.
Smart move to stick with BRICS. We know what happens when acronyms don't end. They confuse everyone.
Well, that's an understatement. BRICS is a group of emerging economies hoping to increase their sway in the global financial order.
Now that sounds like the plot line of a movie. I'm listening.
Philip Patrick is our Bruce Wayne. He's a precious metals specialist and a spokesman for the Birch Gold Group. He's on the ground in Rio getting the whole lowdown on what's going on there.
Can he give us some inside intel?
Absolutely. He's been there since day one. In fact, a major theme at the summit is how BRICS nations aim to reduce reliance on the U.S. dollar in global trade.
Yikes, that doesn't sound good. We got to get Philip on the line, stat.
Already did, and he left the Clay and Buck audience this message.
The world is moving on from the dollar. Quietly but steadily, these nations are making real progress towards reshaping global trade. And the US dollar is no longer the centerpiece. That shift doesn't happen overnight. But make no mistake, it's already begun.
Thank you, Philip. Protect the value of your savings account, your 401k, your IRA, all of them, by purchasing gold and placing it into those accounts and reducing your exposure to a declining dollar value. Text my name, Buck, to 989898. You get the free information you'll need to make the right decision. You can rely on Birch Gold Group, as I do, to give you the information you need to make an informed decision. One more time, text my name, Buck, to 989898.
Welcome back in, Tuesday edition. We hope all of you had fantastic Labor Day weekends. We are back rolling with all of you as we officially enter into the fall calendar season with a lot to discuss. Encourage you, as always, go subscribe to the show on YouTube. We are going to be putting more hours of the show up on YouTube in the months ahead, and you are going to be able to keep up with us there. That will actually be a great way to keep track of the show, as will following us on basically any social media platform out there. You can find me, you can find Buck, you can find the Clay and Buck Show. We are across the entire landscape. And as we start off the third hour here, I do think looking at Chicago as an example of the Democrat Party having lost its way and Trump uniquely hitting on a story that intuitively is very positive, which is I want to drive down the rate of violent crime across the country. Right now, too many people are getting murdered. Too many people are getting beaten up. Too many people are getting carjacked, having their property stolen. All of this would be a really good resolution. Now, this morning, J.B. Pritzker was walking and being interviewed during his walk, and he dodged a question about the extreme rate of violence that took place in Chicago over the weekend. This is cut 29.
You're going to hear people, especially this past weekend, 54 shot, 7 dead.
Yeah.
They're going to say the city's not safe. Would you ask your friends to ride the L after midnight or after, 9 o'clock at night even to come down to the city from O'Hare?
Look, big cities have crime. There's no doubt about it. But let's just pay attention to what President Trump is doing targeting Chicago. He's overlooking red states that have much higher crime rates.
Okay. This is a really bad argument. Now, if Pritzker wants to argue that in blue cities and red states, there are also super high crime rates and the National Guard should be called in there too, I echo it. Memphis, in my home state, I would welcome the National Guard. I think a lot of you listening in Kansas City or St. Louis or New Orleans would welcome the National Guard in your cities to drive down rates of violent crime. We're going to play a couple of other cuts, Brandon Johnson, the mayor. But, Buck, this is an example of trying to make an argument that is very difficult and ultimately comes down to I'm concerned that Trump is exercising too much power in his effort to drive down violent crime in my community. That is effectively what Trump has got Democrats arguing.
It's, like I said, a win from both sides of the issue, as in Trump is doing an objectively good thing, right? Not even a politically good thing, an objectively good thing. And the politics of it are favorable to Trump because the Democrats are coming out and they just refuse to say what we all know. I mean, they refuse to see the reality, which is that it really has to start from this premise, Clay, of it doesn't have to be this way. We don't actually have to have, 500 murders a year in Chicago and 500 or 600 murders a year in Philadelphia. And you look at some of the recent tallies in these cities. It's just simply unacceptable, and it's year in and year out. This could be changed. Trump wants to change it, and you had the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. I mean, this is just the kind of stuff that you're going to hear from some of these Democrats. He's saying this is on a Labor Day rally. He called on the citizens of Chicago to you know what? I want you to hear this. This is the mayor of our third largest city, Democrat, of course. Play 26.
Are you prepared to defend this land that was built by slaves, a land that was built by indigenous people, a land that is built by workers? Are you prepared to defend this land? The people united will always prevail. I need you all to stand firm, to stand strong. If this president decides to continue to break this Constitution.
First of all, is he talking about Chicago? He's saying Chicago was built by indigenous people? It actually wasn't. It was a fort to fight against indigenous people, but that's a whole other thing.
Not many slaves involved in the construction of Chicago. Just do a little bit of basic historical research. Just going to toss it out there. Illinois, land of Lincoln, not exactly known for its huge embrace of slavery. And again, for the history nerds out there, most of Chicago burned down in the 1880s. So with the famous cow knocking over the lantern, and the whole city basically burned down. So Chicago was, by and large, a city that was built by free people. Just FYI. So even the argument of this is stolen land and this is enslaved populace, it's just all BS.
And I believe that the derivation of the city of Chicago comes from an Algonquin word for an onion-like plant that is quite pungent. Chicago.
I think that's actually correct.
Yes. So there you have it. So we named it for something that has indigenous roots, but it was not, in fact, built by indigenous people. But more to the point, defend your city against the National Guard. Who does he think the National Guard is comprised of? Pretty sure it's Americans. The last I checked. And defend the city against them makes it sound like they're an invading force that's doing bad things to people. They would just be there to assist with law enforcement. And I see all these smug comments in the D.C. context, even from commentators out there, saying, they're not even going into the most dangerous neighborhoods. They're there at like Union Station. There have been people shot within blocks of Union Station, robbed at Union Station, shot in Union Station. This actually happens. And it just shows you these people have no idea who are making these comments, what they're talking about. But also, it turns out that when there are men and women who have, M16s and who are there observing what's going on, people are less likely to pull out guns and shoot each other.
Yeah.
It's pretty understandable why. If they say halt, and they're calling the cops on, I don't think you want to open up with your pistol on the National Guard. There's a reason why bad guys don't want to do things in front of armed good guys. This is very straightforward.
And also, even if you're not directly seeing the armed forces, the security apparatus, in the back of your mind, you're thinking they might be there. Because when you believe that there are consequences for crime, it makes a criminal take a pause and think, maybe the risk of attempting this violent act, maybe the risk of attempting this criminal act is one there will be consequences for. And so there are less violent acts that actually are begun in the first place, just by the idea of, hey, they might catch me. And this goes to NYPD, right? If you think I might do something that's not very significant, jump, say, the turnstile in a subway, if you think I might get caught for doing this, you're less likely to accelerate to some level of crime that is more significant.
This is why when they were trying to get rid of the plainclothes, there was a high crime specific plainclothes unit in the NYPD, and this became a big political firestorm. It's because these guys are and girls are very useful, because if you don't know that and the NYPD is very good at this, by the way, at having people who can blend in. If you don't know that that's a cop and you're doing something and you're breaking, but those plainclothes officers, if you don't break the law, you don't even know they're there. They don't bother you. The point is they're there, and it changes the calculation, to your point, Clay, of the bad guys. I saw something here in Miami Beach, I gotta say, was very Crockett and Tubbs. I was very impressed. It was I believe it was a Bentley that was actually an undercover cop car. So I've got to assume that it was seized, probably in some kind of a drug bust or something. But it was a Bentley with the bubblegum machine, as they call it, with the blue and red lights or whatever, and pulled somebody over in some kind of, and I was like, you wouldn't see that one coming. You wouldn't usually think that was going to happen. So, there are ways to do this that make it very effective policing. But I also, if Brandon Johnson was a serious person, I mean, he's seriously dangerous to the city of Chicago with his policies, but if he was a serious person, he wouldn't say Trump is evil, let's just stop Trump. He would say, guys, I have a better way to bring the crime numbers down. The moment he starts talking about, and every Democrat in a major city starts talking about, they start babbling on about investment. They start babbling on about social workers. And it's just nonsense. It's unserious.
This is why the data coming out of Washington, D.C. is so important, because what it begs the question of is, if Trump could drive down violent crime in D.C. by around 50% in the 3 weeks plus that there have been the distribution of National Guard troops, the support added, how many people are you willing to let die because you're angry that Trump is trying to provide more security to your city?
Or that you're angry that Trump is the president. Let's just call it what it is. People are just saying they hate Trump. They're angry he's president. And anything he does, they want to stop, right? So it's just a continuation of that.
Now, one of the challenges with lowering violent crime is you don't necessarily know what lives you save. There are kids, and I say kids because generally speaking, they're young. There are kids in school this week in Washington, D.C., that would be dead if Donald Trump had not brought the National Guard into D.C. We don't know who those kids are, but they are alive today because he did that. That's what the data reflects. 7 people dead in Chicago. I give credit to that media member. 54 people shot over Labor Day weekend. And she asked a pretty basic question. What would you tell people who are afraid to get on a train from O'Hare to go into the city? And he immediately pivots to, well, that's not the real question here. Look at what Trump is trying to do. I mean, his argument, Buck, was he's not going into red states with higher rates of crime. Well, first of all, red states by and large don't have higher rates of crime. Blue cities in red states, my home state of Tennessee is a great example. The crime rate in Memphis makes the crime rate in the whole state look huge. So if J.B. Pritzker's argument, which begs the question for the follow-up there, is, hey, Trump needs to be going into more red state cities, which are, of course, blue-driven, aren't you actually endorsing that his policies make sense? Like, when you're shifting the argument to, well, why isn't he going to Memphis? Or why isn't he going to New Orleans? Or why isn't he going to Kansas City or St. Louis? You're actually just legitimizing the fact that it would be successful. And I give Trump that challenge. Why not do it? Let's do it everywhere. Let's see if we can drive down the rate of violent crime in the cities where violent crime is at the highest, all of whom have Democrat mayors.
And I don't want to divert us too much into this, but it's just a reminder, as I've said, they deployed the National Guard for COVID at airports and all kinds of public venues as if they were going to shoot the virus particles in the air. It was absurd. It was absurd. And Democrats were fine with that, right? Oh, we need the National Guard checking your papers. Checking your papers, everyone, for COVID. That wasn't a police state, they said. That wasn't a police state. But having National Guard in a federal province, which is D.C., there to just make sure you can walk down the street and not get shot or carjacked, that they have a problem. That's tyranny. Someone explain this to me, right? Like, someone explain the logic behind this. And again, you've got two guys who have lived in D.C. We know stuff would happen in D.C. I remember I had a friend who got robbed at gunpoint, and he was a DOD employee, and they were able to track. This is when we all had they all had some of them had BlackBerries, like secure BlackBerries. And they were able to track the guy down because he had the BlackBerry that he was trying to sell. Like, that would just happen, though. You just get, someone would pull a gun on you in the nicest neighborhoods of D.C., and everyone's like, yeah, it's D.C. It's a crazy town. What can you do? All right, look, when inflation jumps, you're reminded that our national debt is over $37 trillion. So here's a thought. Maybe now's a good time to buy some gold, whether as a hedge against inflation or just smart long-term diversification of your holdings. Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold, and they want to make it easy for you. Until September 30th, if you are a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit now. Text my name, Buck, to 989898. Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals for up to $10,000. Diversify with gold like I do with Birch Gold Group. Make now your first time to buy gold. Take advantage of a rebate of up to $10,000 when you buy by September 30th. So for the first time, a lot of you are long-time gold people. If you want to add your holdings or you want to transition that IRA or 401k, Birch Gold's who you want to go with. But if you're a first-time gold buyer, special incentive here for you, okay? Diversify with gold with the Birch Gold Group. Text my name, Buck, to 989898. Claim your eligibility today. Again, text BUCK to 989898.
Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Mic drops that never sounded so good. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
This Labor Day, say goodbye to spills, stains, and overpriced furniture with WashableSofas.com. Featuring Anabay, the only machine washable sofa inside and out, where designer quality meets budget-friendly pricing. Sofas start at just $6.99, making it the perfect time to upgrade your space. Anabay's pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and interchangeable slipcovers are made with high-performance fabric built for real life. You'll love the cloud-like comfort of hypoallergenic, high-resilience foam that never needs fluffing, and a durable steel frame that stands the test of time. With modular pieces, you can rearrange anytime. It's a sofa that adapts to your life. Now through Labor Day, get up to 60% off site-wide at WashableSofas.com. Every order comes with a 30-day satisfaction guarantee. If you're not in love, send it back for a full refund. No return shipping, no restocking fees, every penny back. Shop now at WashableSofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
This is an iHeart podcast.